Hello everyone and welcome back to another edit, except this week we're doing something a little different. Instead of walking through an entire editing process in Photoshop and Lightroom, we are going to be looking at how you take photos of the moon, like this one. I was lucky enough to be able to head out of the city last weekend to visit a friend, and he was gracious enough to let me use his telescope. I don't know the exact model or type because that's not my area of expertise, but I'll put a picture up on screen now. So yeah, I was able to hook the camera up to that via an adapter that I purchased. It wasn't too bad. It was like $100. It's a nice solid piece of machined aluminum. So you stick it in the telescope with a little lens in the eyepiece. You gain focus, and then you can see you get most of the moon. But because it's not all of the moon, because there was two punched in, we have to merge these photos. So the question is, how do we do that? And the answer is Photoshop. There is a photo merge panorama in Lightroom. It works if you sort of take linear panoramas, either if you're going straight across horizontally or straight up and down vertically. It does not work so well when you have pictures like this that are all over the place. We have the top of the moon here, we have the bottom of the moon here, we got, side of the moon here. So what we will do is we will edit in Photoshop. We select our images, edit in Photoshop, and that will edit as layers in Photoshop, will open us up. As you can see, the photos are actually not that sharp. That's because of the atmosphere. When you're that zoomed in, there is stuff in the way, even if that stuff is air and dust. So really, there was not much we could do. So this will take a moment as it loads all of the layers into Photoshop. They are large files. They're 33 megapixels each, as you can see down here in the corner. And they're about 40-something megabytes each in size. So just take a moment. But now we have all of our layers here. We can select all of them by clicking on the first one, and then either control clicking each of them individually, or shift clicking and selecting the bottom. Then what we can do is go to the edit menu and do auto align layers. Leave this as auto. What it'll do is it'll detect all the edges and merge them into kind of a mess, but you look at it and go, okay, that's the moon. So here we go. So we have all this blank space out here, and then we have some awkwardness here with the edges. We also have some dust spots here on the sensor. The way we can get rid of that is auto blending the layers. Panorama, so I did in fact take a panorama. So we'll leave that, and then we will want to make sure content aware fill transparent areas is on, because that way all of this stuff around here, it'll just fill in with black. You don't need to do that, but in this case, it makes our lives easier for cropping it afterwards. Because you can see like stuff like this, if you were to crop a square here, there would be blank space here. So we might as well just do that now. And this is going to take a little minute. So, because it's got to do a lot of thinking. But I do think it does a pretty good job for what is essentially, 4 clicks. It'll create a new layer once it's done thinking, and put it on top of the other ones. So then what we can do is then we can merge those layers afterwards, right? So we have this, which I think it's pretty impressive. I'm on the crop tool here, but I think it's pretty impressive. So what we can do, there's some weirdness here, but I'm not too worried about that. That's something you can, fix manually. And it's because the image here was kind of soft. So what we can do here is then just merge visible, and it makes it one layer, because that way then you can quite easily just crop it, and do something like that that's closer to a square. It's maybe a little bit of a wider rectangle, but you get the point. And then from here you can do some white balance correction, some color correction, some sharpening, and that will lead us to a final product like this, which I think honestly looks pretty good with, just a handful of clicks. There's just a little bit of contrast, changing the white balance ever so slightly, a little bit of dehaze. That's all you really need to do to process it. It's quite simple. So yeah, hopefully you now understand how to merge more difficult panoramic images Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and I'll see you next time.